Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency. Um, yeah, I need to get myself right. Because, of course, on Fridays, we show respects and we give respects to those um, who connect and follow with the podcast, whether it's domestic or overseas. We just show them thanks and we let them know that we hear you, we see you. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm pulling that up. So while I'm doing that, again, thank you. Appreciate you for being here. Those who are listening in on the Facebook Live, the LinkedIn, in a Facebook group, whichever one, and however you're viewing this. Um, Definitely, I think. Thank you, and I appreciate you 1,000%. It's Friday. We've all made it to Friday. We're all here, alive and well. For those who are able to see me physically, and I'm able to see you physically, we're on the right side of dirt. Peace. Good morning, Queenie. She's in San Diego, California. I haven't been there in a long time. Man, I think that was like maybe 2000 and what was that? Maybe 2010 or 2011 was the last time I was in San Diego. So shouts out to San Diego. Peace. Good morning, Miss Teresa. How you doing? I pray your week has been blessed, and I pray that your harvest is bountiful, all at the same time. So let's go ahead and give gratitude and show gratitude um, to our listeners that are overseas and those who are here in domestic. Of course, 88% of our listeners come out of the U.S. Thank you. India, thank you. South Africa, thank you. Germany, appreciate you. Italy, Nigeria, Puerto Rico, United Kingdom, Kenya, Canada, South Korea, Indonesia, Singapore, France, Pakistan, Russia, uh, United Arab. I always chew that last word up. That's why I don't even be saying it. Netherlands, Australia, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Mexico, New Zealand, Ireland, Turkey, Slovenia, Namibia, um, Dominican Republic, DR, Austria, U.S. Virgin Islands, thank you. Thailand, thank you. Ethiopia, thank you. Malaysia, thank you. Belgium, thank you. Philippines, thank you. And we got a new one, Nepal. Thank you. Appreciate you for listening. So if you like to listen to podcasts, it says the top distribution right now is coming out of Apple Podcasts for all you Apple people. Of course, I'm Android for life, but majority of the podcast has been listened to on Apple Podcasts. Spotify is next. Them just listening to it in the web browser is next. Google Podcasts is after that. And other, I'm sure that's probably like Podbean, Amazon Music, whatever it is. You're able to listen to it on those distribution channels. So again, thank you, and I appreciate you. Team Droid, always and forever. Team Droid. All right. So today we're talking about learned, right? The power of the learned. And as you see, the question that's proposed right here is, do you believe that there is power in learning? Do you believe that there is power in learning? If you believe that there is power in learning, I want to learn from you. I want to hear from you. So we're going to make this a little bit interactive. Like, how do you see that there's power in learning? Like, power in learning, not just learning, but the power that comes with it. Because as we go throughout today's session and today's conversation, I want it to be interactive because I want to learn from you. A lot of times, we as creatives, we pour out, but not enough get poured back into us. Miss Teresa said, experience. Yes, there is power in your experience. And when we get to that part, when we're talking about experience, definitely going to create an aha moment in that because everyone, well, I ain't gonna say that because I'll be saying what I want to say later on, but you'll hear it again. So again, thank you. All right, so let's jump. Let's go ahead and get into it. I ain't gonna hold you up today, Friday. You can be anywhere in the world, and we got Miss Queenie all the way from California. What is that? 2 hours behind, 3 hours behind. She said she wake up at 5:30. So definitely want to respect that early time that she put into it by being a part of this. So again, like always, thank you. 2 hours, okay, that's not bad. It is, but not really. All right, so let's go ahead and jump. Again, for those who may be new, whether you're watching on a replay, white over red over white, inversion. If I say white over red, focus on white. If I say red over white, focus on red. Now let's go ahead and go. All right, the definition of learned: showing, requiring, or characterized by learning, scholarly. Showing, requiring, or characterized by learning, scholarly. So, what I want you to pay attention to right now, the inversion is red. The inversion is red over white. Again, like always, which I think we started it last week. Um, if I say red over white, I want to learn, how do you see that? And let's begin to resonate with one another by your expressions of the inversion. So today's inversion in the first definition is red over white, characterized by learning. I think what we need to do here really is, what is characterized? And I probably should have defined that. So I'm a do something. I want to see what Google say, and then we're gonna drop it on that. We're gonna take characterized because it says characterized by learning. What is the definition of characterized? It says described by the distinct nature or features of. Described by the distinct nature or features of. And the second definition is be typical or characterized of. I hate when you give words and you give the same words in the definition. It's like, wow, really, tell me something different. So we'll go with the first definition. Describe the distinctive nature of or features of. So if this talking about characterized by learning, so that means that there was a distinct process that you've taken in order to learn, because it's not telling you what you're learning. It is saying that you have learned, or you are doing what it takes in order for you to learn, or you are showing yourself that you are learning or have learned. Just like when you hear it says study and show thyself approved. So there is a characterization that happens, or a characterization that takes place because you've studied and you've shown yourself approved. So therefore, you are of the learned, because you are doing what is required of you to learn. You're doing what is required. You're doing that distinctive thing that is required of you to have learned that particular thing or that particular lesson. I'm just giving you definitions and I'm just reading the definitions and feeding it to you on a different plate. Because again, the definition states, first definition, showing, requiring, or characterized by learning, scholarly. So are you doing what is required of you to learn or to have learned? And if it's not distinctive enough, then you might not learn that lesson because you have overlooked that thing, or you didn't pay attention in the moment because it wasn't distinctive enough to you. So therefore you've overlooked it and you missed the blessing because it wasn't distinctive enough. Like, man, I probably should have paid attention. Those red flags or those signs, or when I heard it, I knew it resonated with me, but I didn't make it feel important enough. It wasn't distinctive enough to me. So I acted out of character again because that lesson wasn't learned. I'm just giving you definition. That's all I'm doing. Giving you definition because however you take the definition is how you take it. Peace. Good morning, Miss Myrick. Good morning, Miss Morton. Quinny says, learning is why I wake up earlier. We're gonna put this on the screen, Quinny, for you. It said, learning is why I wake up earlier, just to learn by how you are teaching with the breakdowns of basic words. You are teaching in a magnificent way. I appreciate it. 100%. Definitely appreciate that. And again, it's really about like what processes are you taking? Because the root word here in learning is learn. Because the definition of learn is what? To learn is the process of acquiring knowledge. Like, are you really acquiring that thing, or are you, or have you distinctly talked yourself out of alignment? have you talked yourself out of alignment because it wasn't distinctive enough to you? Because it didn't come in the box that you felt it should have came in, or it didn't come in the color that you felt it should have came in. So you didn't learn that lesson. So you walked by it. So therefore, the thing that you tried to show, it wasn't approved by you. So therefore, you thought it wasn't yours. Because remember, characterized is the distinctive way of seeing a thing. Just like somebody saying that person, I'm just saying it. I'm not saying it to be funny enough. That person act like a crackhead, but it's characterized by what crackheads do. So, are you of the learned, or did you mischaracterize yourself? That's like somebody saying it was unbecoming of an officer. That means you was out of character. So you showed yourself opposite of what you have become. Just like we spoke about earlier this week. The opposite of what you've become was mischaracterized by the actions that you've taken. So therefore, it was not characterized by the learn, by what you've learned. Let's go with the second definition of learn. Having much knowledge acquired by study. I think we kind of can flip this a little bit. I see we can flip this. So I would say whichever one you want to start with first, go ahead and drop that in the chat. Whether you want to start with red over white or white over red. So if it's red over white for you, put red and then put how you see in red. Or if you like the inversion of white, put white and then you drop how you see the inversion of this definition. But for me, the first thing that resonated with me was the inversion of white over red. Knowledge acquired. That is the learn. It's knowledge acquired. Because again, the definition of knowledge is the basic foundation of all things in existence. But until you acquire it, it is not, how should I put it? Until you have acquired it, you have not assumed or characterized the lessons that you either have learned, is learned, or should learn. So as I was going through this and really breaking this down, I'm gonna tell you, this came this morning. I didn't know what I was going to do. A lot of times that's how it comes, just off the top. Sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, I be freestyling the whole thing. But as I was studying and breaking it down, it began to hit me like not all knowledge is acquired. Not all lessons are acquired. So you find yourself doing the same thing. You find yourself hitting the same wall. You find yourself talking to the same people. You find yourself talking about the same thing that you said that you was going to do during your New Year's resolution that you have yet to do. Why? Because you have yet to acquire it. Because when I assume or when I consume the information that I'm reading, then I obtain that information and I acquire because I have demanded myself to learn something. Then I can assume that thing. So now I can say I am the learned because I have knowledge acquired. That's like looking at something for those who may go to Rangers or those who've been prior military. When you look at a target, when you're out there, especially when you're doing shift from a known point, when you look out there and you see that target, you say what? Target identified, knowledge identified, lesson identified. It was distinctive enough for me to look at it for what it is and not to be blindsided, but what was, because now I'm looking at it for what it is, because it is knowledge acquired. Now, this right here is not lesson sold separately. This is not the lesson sold separately. The lesson is acquired, so therefore the lessons come with it. The only thing that is really going to be constantly and consistent is the experience, but the acquiring of the knowledge, that's something that's sold separately. The experience is going to be constant. But what is not consistent is how you learn it or how you acquire it or how you study it. And it is not yours until you have attained or have assumed or have acquired that thing to be yours. All right, that's enough on white. I'm going to flip this. Now, red over white. How much by study? Again, when it says study to show that self-approval, how much are you studying? How much or how long do you have to learn the lesson before you have acquired the lesson and to become the learned? It may take 2 or 3 times. I know. It may take 5 or 6 times. I know. Like we say, it may take 50, 11 times. I get it. Such as given is what? It is required. Because we talked about the learn, the previous definition said showing and requiring. It is required of you to take that experience and then assume responsibility of the experience in order for the lessons to be learned. I ain't gonna stay on that one because I got a lot more work to do. All right, so the next definition of learn is acquired by learning or experience. I'm just giving you definitions and I am feeding it back to you on a different plate. Some of y'all can come into the house and get a to-go plate on this one and take this so you can go on about your day. So the definition, it says, acquired by learning or experience. Because not every, now I'm gonna say this 3 times. And you probably get it the 3rd time. Some of y'all might get it on the 1st time, but you might get it the 3rd time. It says acquired by learning or experience. Don't you know that every experience you're going to learn from? Not every experience, you will not learn from every experience until it is distinct enough for you to learn from. So the inversion on this is red over white. Acquired by experience. Put acquired by experience in the chat. Because a lot of things are acquired by experience. But it is not learned until you acknowledge what has taken place, or until you are transparent enough to what have taken place, or until you are what's the word, it'll come to me, but until you have assumed the responsibility of the lessons, it will never transition into a blessing, because you haven't acquired, you haven't studied, you haven't learned from the experience, because your experiences and your lessons are two different things. Your experience could be your emotions. Your experience could be um, situational, but the lessons is black and white. There's a lesson is non-emotional. Now you may feel the outcome may be emotional, but the lessons is black and white, especially when you look at it for what it is and you acknowledge that there was a lesson in this experience and you have acquired or have assumed that thing, and then you able to go in there and change it. Because now let's look at the etymology of the word learn. We're going to the root of it. Now, I'm not old and I ain't English, so I don't even know how to pronounce this word. We're going to try it together, whatever. All right, the old English, or the etymology of learn, is that old English is Leorian. Sure, that's what it sounds like, because that's what it looked like to me. However it looked to you is how it looked to you. All right, it says to get knowledge, be cultivated, study, read, think about. Don't you know that's the only way that you're going to acquire it is for you to, one, acknowledge it. Because it say to get knowledge, but I want you to acknowledge it, like act right and get the knowledge. That's how we're going to do that word today. Acknowledge is act right and get the knowledge. Like, it's not going to work until you act right. Stop making those distinctive mistakes, or stop making those distinctive sounds because it don't sound right, but you want it to sound right to everybody else. You want to force everybody else to make it you want to force everybody else to listen to what you're saying when you know it don't even sound right to you. Why do you think you say, like, hey, does this sound right to you? You have already you've already known that it didn't sound right, but you wanted somebody else to hear your foolishness. Go back to the drawing board, act right, and assume the knowledge. Be cultivated. Be of the learned. Study, show yourself approval. Read and assume the responsibility of reading and think about it, and then you take your next step forward. I remember, I think I was like 13 uh, when I was coming up. There was a pastor. He would always say, what did he say? Ear. It was like every time before we used to before we used to go back to school, he would always pray the same thing. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, I just remember it. He will always say, the ear to hear, no, the mouth, I think something like the mouth to speak or the tongue of the learn, something like that. One of them, I think my sister's still here. What was that? How did he say it? I don't remember it like fully, but I know it was the tongue of the learn. Yeah, the tongue of the learn. Like, the tongue of the learn is cultivated, because the things that you have assumed and the thing that you have acquired and the lessons that you've learned, it comes out of your mouth. Because if it says out of the heart the mouth will speak, like, out of the learn the mouth will speak. Like, I can hear, I can we all can hear that distinct characteristics of the things that are coming out of your mouth that are of the learned, right? Because we hear it. So now my question to you is, can you hear yourself? Can you hear yourself? Can you acknowledge that the things that you're saying need to be said to you in order for you to be learned, in order for you to acquire more things for yourself, in order for you to manifest those things into its own physical existence? The power of the learn. Because not everybody's going to be the learn. You got jokers who still can't listen. Still can't listen, but they want to be the learned. Don't you know the only power in the learn is when you assume the responsibility when you begin to actually become transparent about what you've learned and what you are learning, every lesson doesn't have to be a bad lesson. Everything that you are dealing with doesn't always have to come out the mud. Hell, what if my lesson came from the sky? Or what if my lesson came from you? I don't need it to come out the mud just to show you that I'm real about what I'm doing. I got it out the mud. I don't keep it in the mud. I don't want nothing to do with the mud. That's just me. Now, if that's your vernacular and that's what you want to say, that's your colloquialism, that's how you want to put it, cool. I'm not down with the mud. I'd rather exude the power of the learn. Real quick deep dive, and then we'll close. If there's power in what you're learning, then execute it that way. Execute it that way. Yeah, she said the ear to hear and the tongue of the learn. So I break the ear to hear and the tongue of the learn. So the ear to hear the lessons, the ear to allow yourself to comprehend that thing that needed to be comprehended, the ear to be transparent. Just like when people say you hear what you want to hear. Yeah, that's true. People hear what they want to hear, but when they are transparent about what they heard, then they have assumed the responsibility of what they just comprehended. So then it is acquired. It is acquired. So now when it transitions into the tongue of the learn, then I can speak different because there is a characteristics that I'm after. That is distinctive to the direction that I'm going. All right, that's enough. Yeah, Queenie said ear, listen first. I don't know. Sometimes we hear with our eyes. We hear with our eyes. We see what people do before we physically hear what people have said. So I think that can kind of go both ways. Sometimes seeing it is louder than what can be comprehended from listening. Because I can listen to what you're doing louder than what words can come out of your mouth. Yeah. All right. So that's enough. Man, the power of the learn. There are blessings in your lessons, but the lessons will not transition to any blessing until you have what? Acquired it. Until you have assumed responsibility of it. Then it can transition into a blessing. All right, I appreciate y'all. Today's it's going to start out good, and we're going to close this week off strong. And I always want to say, like always, I thank you and I appreciate you for being here. Here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. Y'all be good. Y'all be blessed. And enjoy the rest of y'all day. Peace.